the day they laughed at my charity event. I stood on a folding chair in a half-decorated community hall and pretended I didn't hear it, but I did. I heard every whisper about my little fundraiser, every snort when I explained what the money was for, and every fake smile that said, "She's trying too hard." The worst part wasn't the strangers. It was my own family sitting in the front row, acting like I was embarrassing them on purpose. And then, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom that made my stomach drop. "Stop, you're making us look desperate." My name is Leah Harper, and for most of my life, I've been the good daughter, the quiet one, the one who remembers birthdays, shows up early, cleans up after everyone else, and doesn't fight back when people take credit for my work. I'm 32, I run a small bookkeeping business from home, and I have the kind of personality that people mistake for weakness. I used to think kindness would always come back around. Then I learned something. Kindness scares people when it doesn't need their approval. The charity event started as a promise I made to myself on a night I couldn't sleep. 3 months earlier, my neighbor, Mrs. June Callahan, slipped on her porch steps and broke her hip. She was 78, stubborn, sweet, and proud in a way that made you want to stand a little straighter around her. She'd lived in our town her whole life, the kind of woman who baked casseroles for grieving families and donated blankets to the shelter without telling anyone. But when she fell, she didn't have much family left. Her son lived out of state, and he was struggling, too. I went over the next day with soup and found her sitting in a chair, her leg propped up, her face pale with frustration. "I hate being helpless," she muttered when I set the soup down. "You're not helpless," I said, trying to sound confident even though my throat was tight. She gave me a look that made my cheeks heat. "Leah, I'm not stupid. The hospital called. My insurance doesn't cover everything." She tried to wave it off, like it didn't matter, like pain and debt were just weather. But I could see the fear she wouldn't name, the fear of losing her home, the fear of being a burden. That night I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. I looked up costs, rehab, medical equipment, home modifications. It wasn't just expensive, it was cruelly expensive. Like the universe charged extra for being old. I didn't have a fortune, I wasn't wealthy, but I had something else. Consistency. I had savings from years of living below my means, because I was always told to be responsible. And I had a talent for making things happen, quietly. So I decided I would raise money for Mrs. Callahan. Not with a big flashy gala, not with some fake look-at-me charity dinner. Just a community fundraiser. A simple event with local vendors, a silent auction, and live music from the high school jazz club. I called it Steps for June, because she joked that once she healed, she'd race me up her porch steps again. At first, the idea lit me up from the inside. I called the community center and booked a Saturday. I asked small businesses to donate items. I made flyers. I created an online donation link. I even worked out a budget down to the last napkin because that's what I do. Then I told my family. My mother, Diane, didn't even look up from her phone. "Leah, why would you do that?" "Because she needs help," I said carefully. My sister Amber leaned against the counter with that half-smile she used when she thought she was being funny. Amber is 2 years younger than me, glossy and loud. The kind of woman who can walk into a room and make people notice her shoes. She loves attention like oxygen. Amber laughed. "You're acting like some saint. Is this for Facebook? Are you doing one of those look at me, I care things?" I blinked. "No, I'm not posting it like that." My mother finally looked up, her eyes sharp. "People will talk. They'll think we can't take care of our own. They'll think we're struggling." I stared at her. "It's not about us." Everything in my mom's face tightened. "It becomes about us when you attach our name to it." I felt something cold slide through my chest. "I'm not attaching your name. I'm just doing a good thing." Amber shrugged. "Just don't be dramatic. It's a small town. People are going to judge." It was ironic, because the only people judging me that night were sitting in my mother's kitchen. Still, I went forward. I worked late nights after client calls, packaging donation baskets and labeling auction sheets. I met with the community center manager, a kind woman named Carla Finch, who gave me a discount on the rental fee. "This is a good thing you're doing," Carla said, squeezing my hand. "Don't let anyone steal your joy." I smiled, but my stomach still felt tight. And then the whispers started. In a town like ours, whispers travel faster than cars. At the grocery store, I passed 2 women by the floral display and heard my name like a hook. "She's doing a fundraiser," one of them said, eyebrows lifted, "for June Callahan." The other made a face. "How performative." Performative. That word stuck to my skin. At the coffee shop, my old classmate Tessa Vaughn waved me over with a grin that didn't reach her eyes. I saw your flyer, Tessa said. Cute idea. Thanks, I said, forcing warmth. She leaned in. So, how much are you actually donating yourself? I blinked. What? Tessa laughed like I'd told a joke. You know, people do these things so they don't have to put in real money. They just collect everyone else's. My face burned. I'm donating. How much? She pressed, sweet as poison. I swallowed. Enough. She leaned back, satisfied. Okay, Mother Teresa. I went home and cried in my car before I could even put the groceries away. But I didn't quit. The week of the event, my mother sent me that text. Stop. You're making us look desperate. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Then I typed back with shaking fingers. This isn't about you. Please don't come if you can't support it. Her reply came fast. Fine. Don't embarrass us by acting like you're better than everyone. I set my phone down and held my head in my hands. For a moment, I considered canceling, just pulling the plug so I could stop feeling like I was standing on a stage while people threw tomatoes. Then, I thought about June, sitting in her chair, pretending she wasn't scared, and I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet to keep the peace, and how peace always seemed to mean my silence, so I didn't cancel. Saturday came cold and bright. The community center smelled like floor cleaner and baked goods. I arrived early with my friend Riley Dawson, a woman from my book club, who had a laugh like fireworks and a heart like a lighthouse. You okay? Riley asked as we hung up decorations. I'm fine, I lied. Riley gave me a look. Leah, you're pale. I exhaled. My mom and sister think this is embarrassing. Riley snorted. Of course they do. Some people only understand kindness when it's wrapped in a selfie. I laughed, despite myself, then felt tears rise again. People are already mocking it. Let them, Riley said, tying a banner tight. You're doing this for June, not for their approval. By noon, people started trickling in. Families, seniors, a few curious teens. The bake sale table filled fast. The silent auction sheets began collecting bids. Then, my sister arrived. Amber came in wearing a fitted coat and heels like she was going to a restaurant, not a community hall. She walked up to the registration table and looked around like she was inspecting a set. This is smaller than I expected, she said loudly. Riley's hands stilled. I forced a smile. Hi, Amber. Amber leaned close, her perfume sharp. Mom didn't want to come. She said you're being stubborn. I kept my voice steady. I'm glad you came. She glanced at the donation jar. So what are you hoping to raise? Like 200. A couple of women nearby turned their heads. One of them smiled in that tight, amused way, but my face heated. We'll see. Amber laughed. Leah, I'm just saying, don't act like this is some grand thing. This is a cute little project. Felt like she was pressing her thumb into a bruise. I swallowed and turned away, focusing on straightening the auction items, but it didn't stop. I heard Tessa Vaughn nearby telling someone, she wants to be seen as generous. That's all it is. I heard another woman say, if she really cared, she'd just pay it herself. I heard my sister laugh again and say, she's always been dramatic. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped a framed gift certificate. Then the mayor walked in. Mayor Daniel Whitmore wasn't flashy. He was the kind of man who looked like he belonged at a town barbecue, sleeves rolled up, handshake firm. He entered with Carla Finch and two other people I didn't recognize. The room shifted instantly. Conversations dipped. People straightened. Carla spotted me and waved me over with urgency. Leah, she said, eyes bright. Mayor Whitmore is here. My heart thudded. Why? Carla's smile widened. Because he wanted to see the event he heard about. I felt my throat tighten. He heard about it. She nodded. From someone who said your contribution was extraordinary. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Before Carla could answer, the mayor stepped toward the small microphone stand we'd set up for announcements. People gathered, curious, and suddenly polite. Amber's eyes widened like she'd just spotted a celebrity. She smoothed her hair, then whispered, oh my God, Leah, why is he here? I didn't answer because I couldn't. My mouth had gone dry. Mayor Whitmore tapped the microphone. Good afternoon, everyone. A murmur of greetings rolled through the room. He smiled, warm and calm. I won't take much time. I'm here because I heard about what this event is doing for June Callahan. Many of you know June. She's been part of this town's fabric for decades. She's been part of this town's fabric for decades. People nodded. a few making sympathetic noises. The mayor continued, "Charity is not always loud. It's not always a press release or a ribbon cutting. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's one person deciding that someone else shouldn't face hardship alone." My chest tightened. My hands were clenched so hard my nails dug into my palm. He looked around the room. "I also want to acknowledge something that most of you don't know." Amber shifted closer to me. I could feel her excitement like static. Mayor Whitmore turned his gaze toward me. "For weeks," he said, "someone in this town has been paying June's medical bills anonymously." The room went still. My heart stopped. Not metaphorically. It felt like it actually missed a beat. He raised his voice slightly. "That person also covered the community center fee for this event, purchased the bulk supplies for the silent auction, and arranged additional rehab support without asking for credit." A wave of shocked whispers swept through the crowd. I could hear someone mutter, "Who?" Another voice, anonymously. Mayor Whitmore smiled, almost amused. "June tried to figure out who it was. She insisted she didn't want charity, but she accepted help when she realized it was done out of genuine care." My eyes stung. I didn't move. The mayor gestured toward me with an open palm. "Today, I learned that the person behind that silent contribution is Leah Harper." The room exploded in noise, gasps, exclamations. Sudden scramble of eyes toward me like I'd become a different person in one sentence. Amber's mouth dropped open. "Wait, what?" My mother wasn't there, but I could hear her voice in my head saying, "Don't embarrass us." I felt dizzy. I hadn't planned for anyone to know. I'd paid what I could quietly because I didn't want praise. I just wanted June to be okay. Mayor Whitmore stepped closer. "Leah, would you come up here for a moment?" My legs felt weak. Riley squeezed my elbow. "Go," she whispered, eyes shining. "Go." I walked to the front, the room partying. My face burned. I heard a few people clapping, then more joining in, until the sound swelled like a tide. I reached the microphone, hands trembling. The mayor lowered his voice so only I could hear. "You didn't want recognition. I know." I swallowed hard. "Please." "I didn't." He nodded gently. "June asked me to come. She wanted the town to know what you did. She said people should learn what real kindness looks like." My throat closed. Tears spilled before I could stop them. I faced the crowd, blinking hard. I didn't do this to be seen," I said, voice shaky. "I did it because June is good, and because it's not fair that being kind doesn't protect you from losing everything." The room grew quiet again, but it wasn't the cruel quiet from earlier. It was listening quiet. I glanced across the crowd and saw Tessa Vaughn frozen, her smile gone. I saw the women who'd whispered about me, looking down at their shoes. I saw Amber standing stiff, her cheeks flushed. I continued, finding steadier ground. "If you're here today, thank you. If you donated, thank you. And if you came just to watch, I hope you leave remembering that you never know what someone has done in silence." The applause returned, louder. After the mayor stepped away, people swarmed the donation table like the room had changed temperature. Bids shot up. A local contractor offered to build June a safer ramp for free. The owner of the pharmacy donated medical supplies. People who'd mocked me earlier now wanted to shake my hand. Amber pushed through the crowd, eyes wide. "Leah," she hissed, grabbing my arm. "Why didn't you tell us you were paying her bills?" I stared at her. My hands had stopped shaking now. Something inside me had turned solid. "Because you would have stopped me," I said quietly. Her face tightened. "That's not true." I lifted an eyebrow. "You laughed at the event, Amber. You called it cute. You made jokes. Mom told me to stop because it made you look desperate." Amber's eyes flickered, defensive. "We didn't know the details. You didn't ask," I said. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in my life, she didn't have a comeback ready. Later that evening, after the crowd thinned, my phone buzzed again. "Mom, I heard what happened. Why would you let the mayor say your name like that?" I stared at the screen, the old familiar guilt trying to crawl up my spine, the need to smooth things over, the need to apologize for shining too brightly. Then, another text appeared. "People are talking. They're saying you're some kind of hero. I just wish you'd considered how this affects the family." I laughed, but it wasn't happy. Riley walked over with 2 paper cups of lukewarm coffee. "You look like you're about to set your phone on fire." "It's my mom," I said, voice flat. "She's upset because the attention isn't on her." Riley handed me the coffee. "You don't owe her your light." I took a sip and looked around the hall. The tables were messy. The banner was slightly crooked. My feet hurt. But the donation tally on the clipboard made my stomach flip. We raised over $12,000, not just from the event, from the ripple the truth created. People donated online in the hour after the mayor's announcement. A local news page posted a photo of the fundraiser and wrote about silent generosity. People who'd ignored my flyer suddenly wanted to be part of something good. And the best part, June was coming in the next day to see the results. When I visited her the next morning, she was sitting up straighter, her eyes bright, her hair was brushed neatly, and she looked more like herself. "You're in trouble," she teased as soon as I walked in. I frowned. "What do you mean?" June lifted her chin. "You thought you could help me quietly forever, and I wouldn't notice the shape of your kindness." My eyes stung. "June," she reached out and took my hand. Her fingers were papery but strong. "I used to think the world was only kind when it was being watched," she said softly. "Then you reminded me I was wrong." I swallowed. I didn't want attention. "I know," she said. "That's why you deserved it." Tears slipped down my cheeks again. I didn't wipe them away this time. When I left the rehab center, my phone rang. "Amber." I almost didn't answer, but I did. Her voice was smaller than usual. "Leah." I wanted to say, "I'm sorry." I leaned against my car door, surprise washing through me. "For what?" "For laughing," she said. And I heard the strain behind her words. "For making you feel stupid. Mom and we always thought you were trying to prove something." I looked out at the winter trees, bare and honest. "I wasn't trying to prove anything," I said. "I was trying to do something that mattered." Amber was quiet, then whispered, "How did you even afford it?" I could have snapped. I could have listed every sacrifice, every time I skipped vacations, every time I held myself back while they spent. But revenge doesn't always need cruelty. Sometimes revenge is simply refusing to be reduced. "I planned," I said. "I saved. I made choices you didn't see because you weren't looking." Amber exhaled. "Mom's angry. She says you made her look bad." I let out a slow breath. I didn't make her look anything. Her reactions did. There was silence again. Then Amber said, "I think I want to help June, too, if she let me." My chest softened, just a little. "If you mean it," I said, "then do it quietly. Do it because it's right. Not because people are watching," she whispered. "Okay." After that, things didn't magically become perfect. My mother still carried her pride like a shield. She still hinted that I'd gone too far. But something fundamental had shifted. For the first time, I didn't shrink to keep her comfortable. A week later, I ran into Tessa Vaughn at the grocery store. She approached me with a forced smile and an overly bright voice. "Leah, that fundraiser was, wow, you're really something." I met her eyes. "Thank you." She waited, like she expected me to invite her into a conversation, to make her feel forgiven. I didn't. I simply picked up my basket and walked away. Because my revenge wasn't screaming. It wasn't humiliating her in public. It was letting her sit in the discomfort of being wrong about me. It was letting my mother and sister finally see that my softness wasn't a flaw. It was a choice, and choices can change. The night June finally came home, the town showed up again. Carla organized volunteers. The contractor built the ramp. The high school kids carried groceries. People who had mocked my cute little project now stood in June's yard and clapped as she took her first careful steps up the new ramp. June turned and looked at me, eyes shining. "Looks like you started a storm," she whispered. I smiled, tears thick in my throat. "A good one," I said. "And if you're listening to this story right now, I want you to remember something. Sometimes the people closest to you will laugh when you try to do something meaningful, not because it's wrong, but because your courage makes them face their own emptiness. Sometimes they'll mock you because it's easier than admitting they don't have your strength. But you don't need permission to be kind. You don't need approval to do what's right. And you definitely don't need to dim your light so someone else can feel taller. If this story made you feel something, Amber, hope, satisfaction, or even that little spark of courage, take a second to hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated and then proved everyone wrong without even trying? Because trust me, the quiet ones don't stay quiet forever. Don't stay quiet forever.